Good morning, everyone. Hello, hello. I am Tina Swithin, author of Divorcing a Narcissist, which is actually a whole series of books behind me. I'm also the founder of One Mom's Battle. This is Coffee with Tina, where we come together as a community of survivors and talk about all things related to child custody battles with a narcissist. Good morning, Alex. A lot of people ask, with what I do, because I use the term divorcing a narcissist a lot, if they had to have actually been married. And no, so many of my clients are going through paternity issues or child custody battles. So it's anyone who has children with a narcissist and has been affected by this very broken court system. My fine print, I am not an attorney. I am absolutely not qualified to give you legal advice. Anything that you take from our talk and want to implement in your situation or your case, make sure you run it past your attorney first, because ultimately they are your voice and your advocate in the courtroom. With all of that said, yesterday I had, good morning, happy Juneteenth. Yesterday people send me requests for interviews, a lot, podcasts and things like that. And I love using the opportunity to talk about the brokenness of the family court system. So sometimes I say yes, and I don't really even know what I'm being interviewed on or what the platform is, which is probably not good. But anyway, I said yes to an interview yesterday from a lady named Natasha June, and I sent her a quick message right before we went live, and I said, are we going live or is this pre-recorded? And good morning, Marcella and Bianca and Deep Living. So I sent her this message and I'm like, is this live? What is this? Blah, blah, blah. So apparently it was Amazon TV. It was Amazon Sway Network or Sway Channel, which I had never heard of in my life. And we ended up being live on there for an hour and a half. I could talk about this topic all day. Good morning, Amanda. So that was pretty neat and gave me a pretty huge platform to talk about all of the issues in the system, because I'm committed to using my voice for those of you who are silenced and can't speak up about these issues and these tragedies. And so yeah, you'll have to, I posted it on my social media. If you're interested in watching it, it is on there. Couple of things. We get a lot of confusion about our educational judicial education program because it has changed so much. Good morning, Randy, and good luck with pretrial today. We used to have it under the umbrella of One Mom's Battle. And for those of you who don't know, for many years, both informally and formally, I have been sending out, or we have been, Glenn, my husband, actually has taken over the whole program. And we've sent out a packet of educational material. It's very nicely done. It's in a really nice folder and has, studies and facts about the reality of going up against a high conflict person in family court. And we talk a lot about post-separation abuse, which is probably your life. If you're here joining me. So the program is no longer housed under One Mom's Battle. I did that for a reason. It can easily be chalked up to a mom's group or a mom's rights group, and that's not what we are. But to make it absolutely clear, you can go read all about our new program, and it can be found at educateyourjudge.com. I actually had a call yesterday with a lady from a domestic violence organization in Iowa, and she said a couple of years ago they sent out one of our packets and that she watched the shift in her judge. And so there are those out there that we can reach because they just, most judges have zero training in domestic violence, in high conflict divorces. And when, the judges that are newer or have had zero training, when we're able to connect the dots for them that this is the pattern, this is what you're seeing, it turns on a light bulb. And so I stand behind the program so much because there are those that we can reach, we can educate. And, what she was telling me is, no, we saw a shift in the judge after we sent that packet. And so those are the things that keep me going in this program and keep me doing this judicial education. It can go out to attorneys, to minors counsel, to evaluators, and it's completely anonymous. So it does not come from you. Second thing I wanted to mention, we created a new website and it's called intheirbestinterest.com. We are going to be taking stories, which hopefully can help researchers like Joan Meyer or others out there who are doing solid research on these issues. You can submit it anonymously if you'd like to, but one of the big parts of that new program, good morning, Andrea from Canada, one of the big pushes is there's a part on there called Say Their Names, and you can also do that anonymously. We would love to know who you are. So if you are able, it's never going to be published anywhere where anyone can see it. It's very much for us behind the scenes. So if you're willing to share your name and contact information, it's so helpful to us. But the whole purpose of that section is to start connecting dots of collusion, corruption. I know there's these pockets of the alienation junk stuff where professionals work together. They have this, they've already determined the outcome of your case before they even hear the facts because they can just quickly stamp it with all of the alienation stuff and force you into their little pockets of professionals who are making a lot of money off of this industry. So please, please, please go to intheirbestinterest.com and take a look around on the site and share with us whatever you feel called to share with us or feel comfortable sharing with us. Yes, attorneys, we want to know the good, the bad, the really ugly, all of your experiences with any family court professionals. Alex said, I sent one of the packets in the past year. Should I send it again later on? We just rebranded the packet in March. So if you sent it prior to March, this is an entirely new packet. So it's something to consider, kind of a refresher if things are still going on. Okay, I'm going to jump right into the questions. And the first one, we get this question a lot, and I'm going to tell you up front, there are no good answers, but I want to address it because I know it's a topic that comes up in a variety of different ways. How do I get proof of, whether it's drugs, alcohol, all of these things when they're all taking place behind closed doors? And the unfortunate answer is you really can't. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Do those things spill out into other areas where eventually you may be able to get proof? Absolutely. I know in my situation, my ex-husband is a drinker. He has a pretty bad alcohol problem. And so much of that took place in their family compound house. But there were times where it would spill out into the world. One of those examples, and we had a no, he couldn't drink alcohol with the girls present at all. But they slip up, and especially if there's no court date on the horizon. For example, my ex-husband would drink at the gym, which sounds crazy to people, but it was like a country club type of athletic club. So he would take the girls there, dump them in daycare because he didn't really want to be a dad. And then he would, after he worked out, he would drink because he needed that fix. And so I was able to subpoena his records at the athletic club going back a year and show how much he was drinking and violating the court order. Another time, he took my daughters to a restaurant and he ordered a beer. My daughter knew that he wasn't supposed to be drinking, and he said it's a soda, and she heard the waitress set it down and say, "Here's your beer." So she told me, like, "Mom, he was drinking and then he drove us in the car." And I got a PI to go in there and get the surveillance video, get the receipt of his purchases, and he got in a lot of trouble. That was around the time they said professionally supervised visits. So you just never know when they are going to slip up outside of the home. So, but actually finding out, and I get feedback from a lot of private investigators when I send people to them, they're like, "Tina, like so much of what they're requesting from us or they want to uncover, it's impossible. We can't sit outside of someone's living room window with a scope." So you have to be really realistic about all of that. I saw what is the course for documentation again? Marcella, if you go to the One Mom's Battle website and click online courses, it's available for instant download, the documentation course, and you can use code OMB thank you for 20% off of any of the courses. That is my personal YouTube code if anyone is interested in any of the online courses that I offer. And in that, I share my entire documentation system that I used to protect my kids. So hopefully that's helpful to you. If you don't have, we're told document, but, if you don't have a system to pull it all together, then you aren't able to shine a light on it for your own attorney or for the court. And so, hopefully that will be helpful. So then the next question is, how do you know you have the right attorney? That's, first of all, one of the mistakes I see people make is they're not realistic about what their attorney can actually do for them. Your attorney can't rush the courthouse and say, this person's a horrible person. There's some realities and some restrictions to what they can do. I see a lot of people who get caught up on proving that the other party is a narcissist or a sociopath or whatever it is. Brutal honesty, it doesn't matter. I've never once used that descriptor or term in court for my case at all. For me, it was about showing patterns of behavior, but specifically the patterns of behavior that affected my kids. And there's a, saying that many attorneys use, and it was shared with me early on, even liars and a-holes are allowed to be a parent. And that's the unfortunate reality of our court system. Their threshold of what's acceptable is so much different than ours. So that's kind of my initial clause is, are you being realistic about what your attorney can do? Because I see people butt heads with their attorneys a lot. And then when I kind of get behind the scenes, I'm like, well, you were leaning on your attorney to be your therapist, your emotional support. That's not what they're there for. You were bombarding them to where they were overwhelmed and having a hard time even catching their breath. So there's so much that goes into these relationships. I can't answer whether or not the attorney is a good attorney for you. I can tell you I would want an attorney who was very trauma informed, domestic violence informed, and knowledgeable, and beyond not just the language they use on their website to attract people, but actually asking probing questions. And that's I'm going to actually do a blog about what questions you can ask your attorney, because it's a topic that we get a lot. And so stay tuned on the One Mom's Battle website in the next couple weeks. And I'll do a blog on this because it's a big topic. And, it's so important to ask the right questions going into it to gauge whether or not your attorney knows enough to represent you. And if they're knowledgeable on narcissism, that's fantastic because it can help you behind the scenes. Again, they can't rush the courthouse and try to prove that, but they'll understand your need for tight court orders that don't have a ton of loopholes. I have yet to see a perfect court order, because what we know about the narcissist is it's almost like they have a special magnifying glass that goes through and looks for gray areas that they can manipulate. I have yet to see a court order that I said, wow, that's loophole free. And I've seen people spend a lot of money to get really tight court orders. Your attorney will understand strategy in your communication to get the other person to drop their mask. But to allow you to hold your boundaries, everybody's in a different place. So being strategic, you may not be there yet. If that's the case for you, if you're not in that strategy mindset, do whatever you can to start educating yourself on your local court system. If they still have online access to hearings, then by all means look for those. A lot of times on the court website, it'll have a link that you can actually watch hearings live. And I actually do that a lot from my desk, where I'll just have a hearing playing in the background. I have a tickle in my throat. But if your gut is your biggest compass and guide when it comes to your attorney. And you have to be careful because so many of them deliver amazing sales pitches. And then you start going, yeah, but what we're doing now isn't what they told me we could do or would do. And maybe there's some legitimacy to that. Maybe they really started digging in deep. I will say your strategy with your own attorney and your presentation and what you give to them, there is such an art to it. If you don't have a divorce coach to help guide you on this topic, please align with one of our coaches, and you can go to myhighconflictdivorcecoach.com and connect with a divorce coach. I'm no longer accepting new clients, but these are all amazing humans that I have personally trained myself. And in addition to me, we've brought in top experts from all around the world. Dr. Romani, Dr. Catherine Barrett, Jeff Diamond, Christine Danbeck. There are some phenomenal instructors in our program. And so, these people have been trained in post-separation abuse and strategy and how, you can take everything you have and prepare for mediation or prepare, the attorneys that I, refer clients to, or they refer clients to me, they know when a client comes into their office, they are going to be ready It's going to save them money because everything is, organized and it's effective and it's realistic. We're not asking them to bring in magical unicorns. Our clients understand the realities of the system and know what matters to the court. So if you haven't connected with one of our coaches, I highly recommend that you do. There's a couple of them here joining us live today and a couple of people who are currently in the program. So that's a beautiful thing. I always say I'm one person and I could work 7 days a week all day long and still not keep up with the need that there is for this type of service. It's an issue that there really isn't a lot out there on. We can find a million narcissistic abuse coaches or recovery programs, or, that's such a hot topic and quite frankly, an overused word that, so there's so much out there, but there's so little out there on divorcing or child custody with one of these people. And it's a needed topic. We need more information on it. So the last question is, I'm still married and I've been collecting evidence for 2 years now. Is that bad? Here's what I want to say about that topic. I work with a lot of people one-on-one who are in that position where, they're behind the scenes, they're collecting information. I can share an example. There's a woman I know who stayed for a long time for that reason, to document. Her case is one of the worst I've seen in terms of the family court system failing her. So sometimes the most amazing preparation, and she had connected with all of the experts, an extreme case of abuse, and she did all the right things for a long time. You would have thought her case was just solid. Slam dunk, this is it. And it's taken a really bad path. And so sometimes even the best intentions, the best preparation, the court system is so unpredictable. There's so many things out of our control. There's so many different variables, whether it's a bad judge, a bad minors counsel, bad evaluator. So I am a huge fan of preparation and getting everything together right before you leave. However, there comes a point where that becomes the baseline for your children, and they're growing up believing, even if they know it's wrong, it's being absorbed at their core level that this is what marriage is. And so, I share with people that some of the most heartbreaking emails I receive on any given week are from the moms. I haven't had one from my dad yet, but from the moms who say, I wish this information would have been out there 20 years ago. I stayed. There were no resources. I didn't know what I was dealing with. And now my children have either gone on to be abusers themselves, or they're repeating the pattern and they are now victims of the exact same type of person that their dad was. And that's kind of my go-to when someone is questioning whether or not they should leave, because let's admit it, this is a scary court system to walk into. It's a fear path. You don't know what to expect, and these are your babies. And that's, I see success stories. I see positive outcomes all the time where they do get it right. And if you're on that path, that, what if path, there's nothing that comes from that path except a lot of anxiety. And, for me, the quicker I got out of there and, started this fast track into the court system, I'm so thankful. When I look back, even with everything my daughters and I have been through, I'm so glad I left when I did. I wish I would have left sooner, to be honest. If I have any regrets, it's that I stayed until they were 2 and 4. So 2 years of documentation, 2 years of pulling things together. I can't give you legal advice, but, connect with an attorney. And sometimes the best thing to do is just rip that Band-Aid off and start your journey. Even with everything I know about the court system, I still believe it's better in most situations than staying in an abusive relationship. But it's heartbreaking because I do hear, and what I'll tell you, if you're on that fear-based path, don't read the horror stories. I know people become consumed by the One Mom's Battle Facebook page and reading other people's experiences. I would caution you, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. We don't know the full story. We're getting little snippets, and it's usually when somebody is in a really desperate place. And so if you're on that fear-based path, and you are on, in the survivor groups, whether it's mine or anyone else's, or reading all of the potential horrors that come from the courtroom, set a boundary with yourself. Maybe you don't go on the pages at all. It would be like if you're 8 months pregnant and you start reading online about what could potentially happen in rare situations or cases, and you just, everybody's experience is so different. I do equate it to pregnancy a lot. I remember being 8 months pregnant and having people tell me their horror stories about childbirth. And I'm like, why would you tell me that? This realm can be a similar experience. Equip yourself. There is my sister. Hello, Renee. And probably Matthew, my nephew, is probably with her. He thinks I'm famous. He does. He's my fan club member. Anyway, so, equip yourself with what you need and get on your strategy mindset. But there comes a point where the information consumes you and becomes too much. But I always love to read other people's comments and what your experience is on this topic. It's easy for us to go back in time and second guess everything and say, I wish I would have done this. I call that the would have, could have, should have path. And that's not helpful or progressive either. So, all right, everyone, have a wonderful weekend. I'm actually going to be working on my victim impact statement for my ex-brother-in-law's sentencing on the 28th, which I've been procrastinating on. And I'll probably share portions of it online. All right, take care. We'll talk next week.